He can't talk. She can't talk. She can't talk without maybe getting the answers. What's the story with that? Did she get the questions? Do you think? So I hear she got the questions, and I also heard she had something in the ear, a little something in the ear. No, Kamala, do this. Say it this way, Kamala. Okay, be quiet. Too many people watching. She had a terrible interview today.
My reaction is I'm really concerned about what ABC did. When the refs put their finger on the scale, you got to throw out the score of the game. What would have happened in that debate had they challenged Harris and said, that's not right what you said there about Charlottesville. Right. We don't know how she would have reacted, and then Trump wouldn't have had to spend all his time on the debate center. I think they did a real disservice to the voters of America when they did that, and they put in jeopardy the institutions of debate.
Well, and look, for the candidate on your side of the political aisle, it might have helped her. If you want to get sharp, you have to rub up against something that will sharpen you. And it might have even helped her quiet down those in your party who still have so many questions about her policies.
That was former Clinton advisor Mark Penn, who was saying what's been on the mind of every American who watched that sham of a debate on ABC. In another interview, he asked for a full-scale investigation into this debate because he doesn't know what kind of deals were made between the media company and the Harris campaign. The famous political strategist has even advised ABC News to hire an outside law firm to look into internal communication between the network and the Harris campaign and to what extent they planned on rigging the outcome of this debate. He believes that some kind of deal was made because clearly the debate organizers had decided to intentionally fact-check only one candidate and let the other one say whatever she wanted. In his view, this decidedly changed the outcome of the debate. Anyone with a functioning brain will agree with what he's saying. If you just let Kamala mumble about family values instead of asking her some important and hard questions, she's of course not going to have any trouble. On the other hand, if you keep interrupting Trump with already rehearsed questions, you're of course going to get under his skin.
Wait a minute, I'm talking now. If you don't mind, please. Does that sound familiar?
I'm amazed he didn't just walk away after the first 10 minutes. And when I say rehearsed, I do mean that they had those questions ready and they were just baiting Trump. To prove my point, just look at what happens when Trump mentions immigrants eating pets in Ohio.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country, and it's a shame.
You bring up Springfield, Ohio, and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
You talk about extreme. This is, I think, one of the reasons why in this election, I actually have the endorsement of 200 Republicans.
They had already talked to the city manager as well as prepared this response in order to push Trump back on immigration. And while Miss Vice President finds it funny to laugh about people eating cats, I assure you, ma'am, it's not funny to anyone who has seen what foreign criminals can do in this country if left unchecked. I guess we have to remind these mindless leaders that we have recently caught a Peruvian gang leader who is wanted for ending 23 lives. And this man, named Torres Navarro, entered the U.S. illegally at the Texas-Mexico border on May 16th. Now, he was apprehended by the U.S. Border Patrol on the same day. However, he was released into the U.S. with a notice to appear for immigration proceedings. And it was not until almost 2 months later that federal authorities became aware of Torres Navarro's alleged involvement in 23 killings. So basically, we had a mindless killer roaming our streets for 2 whole months, and you're wondering how immigrants could eat pets? There is no check and balance, and President Trump was being faithful to every American by pointing it out, but clearly the ABC moderators did not want to discuss the grim reality of illegal immigration. So they kept on derailing him while Kamala kept giggling like a child. It was so bizarre. And as if you're not sure why ABC would choose to side with Kamala so openly, well, apart from being part of the woke media, ABC is controlled by Disney. And the executive in charge of running the news company is Dana Walden, who is a close friend of sitting Vice President Kamala Harris. In fact, she's been close friends with Kamala since 1994, and their husbands have been friends since the 80s. They're basically family at this point, and it's not me saying this. Let's just hear what the Vice President has to say.
Is it true you got set up on a blind date?
Yes.
Okay, is it true that you might have Googled him before?
So my best friend, who was like a sister to me, called me up and she's like, I need you to go out with this guy. And she's very bossy, as best friends should be. Don't Google him, just trust me and go out with him. And I said, okay, and then I Googled him.
So yeah, the ABC boss is best friends with the vice president. And if that isn't enough of a red flag, we also have moderator Lindsay Davis, who is allegedly Kamala's sorority sister. I mean, if you're part of the Harris campaign, you can't ask for a better and more biased platform for such a crucial debate. And the fact that even people at CNN were calling it biased just goes to show what kind of a mockery we witnessed this week.
Another vulnerable issue for Harris, she also dodged.
Would you have done anything differently from President Biden on this?
So I'm the only person on this stage who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings.
Okay, that wasn't the question. When asked how she would break through the Israel-Hamas war stalemate, Harris said this.
We need a ceasefire deal and we need the hostages out. And so we will continue to work around the clock on that.
Okay, but again, how?
But there were numerous questions that she would not answer, and she did tell several lies and got no fact-checking. So I think if you're going to lay down a marker that we're going to push back on these candidates, you got to do it to none or you got to do it to both. Why did you wait until 6 months before the election to do anything? And she completely ignored it. And so fact-checking and Barb's aside, those are the two most important issues in the election. They asked her, she completely ignored them. And they spent all their time going after Trump and didn't follow up on any of that. I thought it was ridiculous.
And seeing as just how unfairly he was treated, it only makes sense that President Trump was quick to criticize the organizers.
It was 3-1. It was a rigged deal, as I assumed it would be, because when you looked at the fact that they were correcting everything and not correcting with her. And we knew it when it was 100% good coverage for her over the last month or last year. I looked at it and only bad coverage of me, no matter what. The press is so dishonest in this country, it's amazing. Now, I didn't mind because, frankly, I knew I was pretty sure that's what they would do. CNN was much more honorable. The debate we had with Biden was a much more honorably run debate, but this was incredible. I mean, everything, so many things I said were debunked, totally debunked, like Charlottesville. I have a list of 7 different things, and she could say anything she wanted, everything, every time I spoke, and my stuff was right, they'd correct you.
And since he also happens to be a shrewd politician, it's also not surprising that he says he will not be debating Vice President Harris again.
So because we've done 2 debates and because they were successful, there will be no third debate. It's too late anyway. The voting's already begun. You got to go out and vote. We got to vote. This is going to be the most important vote in the history of our country. It'll be the most important.
Now, in other news, Dick Cheney has publicly endorsed Kamala Harris. Mr. Cheney said in a statement that Trump tried to steal the last election using lies and violence to keep himself in power after the voters had rejected him. He can never be trusted with power again. Now that's rich coming from someone who's been famous for abusing his power and pushing the entire world into never-ending wars and suffering. Not unlike many people, I'm not surprised that Kamala Harris received support from the former vice president. You see, in addition to being a Republican, Mr. Cheney has also been associated time and time again with the deep state. And we already know how some shady groups are trying to stop President Trump, so it only makes sense they also use Mr. Cheney to support her publicly. But despite everything they've done, independent polling organizations like Rasmussen Reports have shown that Trump still holds a 2-point lead over Kamala Harris. It turns out there's only so many people you can manipulate by using cheap tactics clicks. And in the end, the correct message always resonates more with the public. I'm going to end this video on this note, hoping we get a chance to freely pick the person we want to represent us for the next 4 years. If you enjoyed the content on this video, please remember to subscribe to the channel. As always, I truly appreciate you taking the time to watch this video, and I hope to catch you on the next one.